Good quality piece of meat, this one, I'll tell you. I feel like I might eat it myself. Alright, you grab that. Yep, he'll run off. With a bit of luck, she'll do a U-turn. Wait here, here we go. Into that den, going off you go. But quite specifically, they belong to a family of marsupials called the dasyurids. And the dasyurids are our carnivorous marsupials. And not many people know a great deal about our carnivorous marsupials. They're a very, very large group of marsupials. In fact, they're the second largest after the kangaroos and wallaby. And they number around about 55 different species of animals. So there's a lot of them, and they live everywhere from the top of Cape York right down here to Tasmania, and they're everything from a 6-gram Ningawi right through to a 5 to 9 kilo Tasmanian Devil. So there's quite a lot of them. Obviously the Tasmanian tiger was the largest living marsupial. Unfortunately that animal's extinct now and we won't see them around. They also give birth to highly undeveloped young because the young are only gestated for a very short time. For Tasmanian Devils it's only 19 to 20 days. Very, very short gestation period. So for Tasmanian Devils, they have what I refer to as a survival of the fittest breeding strategy. And that survival, you've all heard of that before, haven't you? Survival of the fittest. We can relate that to all sorts of different things in nature. So a Tasmanian Devil can give birth up to 40 young, right? But they can only care for 4. That's intriguing, isn't it? But what on earth happens to the other 35 or so that don't find their way to the pouch? Because the survival of the fittest strategy comes into the fact that the most instinctive marsupials, the fastest marsupials, are the ones that, the fastest young ones, or joeys we call them, same as a kangaroo's a joey, a Tasmanian Devil baby's a joey too, find their way to the pouch and attach to the teat. As soon as those teats are filled up and they've got 4 babies in them, all the others don't have anywhere to go. So they don't survive, unfortunately. There's nothing we can do about them at that stage, because when Tasmanian Devils are born, here's the other thing that's going to shock you to pieces, they're about the size of a grain of rice. Absolutely forearms, which is very, very important because that's how they locomote themselves to the pouch. Because they don't get any help going to the pouch when they're that small either. Mum doesn't pick them up and pop them in there, they have to find their own way there. So that's how they get there. They climb their way into the pouch, attached to a teat, and that's where they stay for that period of time. Now when we see them at 7.5 months of age, well, they look like Tasmanian Devils at this stage. They're just little, tiny little Tasmanian Devils. They're one of the cutest things you've ever seen in your life too. They're wonderful little creatures, very, very different to the adult Tasmanian Devil. You can handle them, they're very quite friendly little creatures, very, very lovely little things. But they haven't got long to be able to get ready to leave, because by the time they're about 10 months of age, they pretty well have to be independent. Mum chases them off and they need to get out there and they need to look after themselves from that stage on. Now Tasmanian Devil juniors are in between the age of about 10 months and about 20 months. They're actually one of the best scavengers in the world. They really are. Like I said before, they don't waste anything. Absolutely nothing. If you come across half a dozen Tasmanian Devils eating a wallaby, go back there the next day and you won't find even a speck of trace that wallaby was ever there. Not even a blood stain on the ground. They'll lick up the grass and they'll lick up all the bits of anything that the blood fell on, they'll eat as well. Because they really are, like I said, the great nickname for them is they're protein junkies. They really are. They go right off and they love the stuff. So that's a little bit about the devils anyway. Now you may have heard a little bit about the facial cancer that's been affecting them. It's called lymphosarcoma. Unfortunately over the last 10 or 15 years we've lost about 80 to 90% of our devils in Tasmania. So to put that in numbers, go back 15, 20 years we had probably about 150,000 devils in Tasmania. Now we've got about 15 to 20,000. So the numbers have gone down quite severely, of course, which is a serious issue for the ecosystem, because there's things like feral cats now have the ability to live in areas where they couldn't live before because there was lots of Tasmanian Devils before. Feral cats eat things that Tasmanian Devils don't. So it's a pretty serious issue for the ecosystem at large. And what we're actually doing about it, there's a lot that's being done about it. For a start, we're looking for a biological cure, which we don't have yet, so I doubt we ever will. But the most important thing we've done is create insurance populations of these animals. So throughout about 16 or 17 different facilities throughout mainland Australia and on islands offshore of Tasmania, we have put devils, more or less, that we breed, that are going to be animals that will be responsible for repopulating the island when there isn't that disease around anymore. And the disease is really quite an insidious thing. It started up in the northeast of the state, of the island, and has pretty well over the last 10 or 15 years spread across much of the state except for the extreme north.